Is your doctor telling you not to lift weights, but you think they're wrong? Watch this.
All right. Our next caller is Allison from California.
Allison, how can we help you?
Hi, guys. I just wanted to start out by saying that your podcast and y'all's programming has made a significant difference in my life. So thank you all for everything that you're doing.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question about injury recovery. Specifically, I got a head injury and a whiplash injury about a year and a month ago. I got a pretty bad concussion. I got hit in the head behind a ski boat. I was pretty much unable to walk and move much for like 4 to 5 weeks. And then I started seeing a physical therapist and made significant improvement. So around January, February is kind of back to normal. I grew up a competitive dancer and I was on like a dance crew at the time, and I was able to rehearse and perform with them for about 2 months until I hit a wall again. I'm not sure, maybe I re-injured my head doing so. It's just hard to tell with brain injuries because they're just so fickle. But I, again, was kind of out of commission for another 2 weeks. And then I got cleared by my physical therapist to lift weights. So not do any cardio or like crazy. I used to be a mountain biker too. I love skiing. So I didn't get cleared to do any of that stuff, but I did get cleared to lift weights. Shortly after that, I found your podcast and I started doing MAPS Aesthetic. I realized I was probably the wrong program because there's so much volume, but I did get through it and I felt pretty good. However, that was over this summer. I am in my last year of law school and I started school again about a month ago. And a lot of my symptoms have been coming back up because of the increased schoolwork. So reading, writing, walking, like all give me dizziness, nausea, headaches. I got discharged from the physical therapist. I still go to the doctor sometimes, but don't really do much. I don't feel symptoms doing anabolic. I'm working on anabolic right now. I don't really get symptoms doing that unless I'm doing overhead presses. And I think it's because it puts pressure on the vertebrae that slipped in my neck. So I just lift really light when it comes to overhead presses and shrugs.
Perfect.
The doctor recently just said, stop everything again and just lay in a dark room. And the physical therapist had cleared me to lift weights. I started lifting weights. I felt good. It's the reading and writing, like walking around the gym that triggers some symptoms. I have to wait 7 months to get to a neurologist. So I'm finally going this month. So I'll see what they have to say. But I was wondering if you all had any experience working with people who have head injuries, especially with long-term symptoms, and what you would suggest for me going forward, lifting weights, because what I had working out and lifting has been incredible for my mental health. Head injuries come with like a multitude of mental health issues. And I feel like I stay sane by working out, but I also don't want to like re-injure myself or do anything that's also bad for me.
Really, really, really good question.
And really, really tough to answer because if your doctor's telling you not to do that right now, for us to try and come over and say you should potentially do this or that is.
Well, so a couple things. One, it's not out of the ordinary for someone in their last year of law school to feel dizzy and lightheaded and nauseous when they're doing their schoolwork. So
fair enough.
All joking aside, and it's very intense, by the way. My cousin went through law school. I know how intense it is. So all joking aside, we're not doctors. So I'm not going to tell you what to do, but I'm going to tell you what to look up and read on your own. Okay. I want you to look up the effects of a ketogenic diet on brain injury.
Neurogenesis. Yeah.
Okay. So look up ketogenic diet and its effects on brain injury, on concussion. See if you can find anything on that. I'd also like you to look up lion's mane and its effects on the same stuff. So lion's mane is a mushroom, so you can look that up. And then look up cannabinoids, in particular CBD and the hemp cannabinoids that you'll find in the hemp plant, and look at those effects. And just read up on it and see for yourself. And then if you want to experiment with some of that stuff, obviously that's totally up to you. I understand completely what you're saying about exercise, okay? You're thinking like, this is super beneficial, but I don't want to do something dangerous to myself. The doctor's kind of scaring me a little bit. You can always get a second opinion. That's number one. So you can always get a second opinion from a medical expert. And then the other thing is, if you do get clearance, you can always go much easier, much lighter. Now, you already kind of pieced that together with overhead presses. I would go much easier and lighter on overhead presses, on deadlifts, on rows, and on shrugs. Okay. Those are the exercises that are probably the most risky, just based off of what I know off of your injury. Now, that doesn't mean you can't practice them. That doesn't mean you can't make the tension feel appropriate just by slowing the reps down and kind of feeling the muscles work. So you can still make it work. Just means go light and make your form as more than perfect, like super, super, super perfect. So you're gonna have to go really, really light. But I'll say, read up on those things and then see if you can get another opinion, because it's not uncommon for one doctor to say something and another doctor to give you a different opinion. That's actually quite common.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought those up, Sal. And again, I'm not a doctor or anything else, but I do have personal experience having concussions and going through a bit of like short-term memory loss and, struggling in school because I couldn't stay focused because, of having those concussions and trying to work through that. And I have had some success with, going and investigating myself with cannabinoids. Cannabinoids. Thank you.
Just
say that right. But so that did help quite a bit in terms of like my own like memory and going through that path. But what I did notice too with the intracranial pressure when I would get into heavy lifts, I had to back off quite a bit. And so that was just something that I just listened to my body, kind of went through that, and then really just focused a little bit more on hypertrophy and but again, I was able to kind of regain, I felt like, some good health again and kind of work my way back towards, intensifying my workouts. So I think really, just weigh it out, listen to your doctor, but also too, like there's ways to kind of still be able to get exercise in that's healthy for your body.
Yeah, get a second opinion. I mean, at the end of the day, like exercise is not different than us moving around, right? I mean, you're moving. You can just move. I think doctors that say stuff like this, they just assume you're pushing, you're doing super heavy weight, but it's like there's got to be somewhere in the middle there where it's okay for you to still do some of these. In fact, beneficial probably for you to do some of these movements for you, not just for your brain, but also for your overall health and sanity. I think that there's got to be somewhere on the spectrum where it's okay, and I would want a doctor to give me that green light on what that looks like.
It's rare that appropriate movement and appropriate is the key word here. Okay, it's super rare that appropriate exercise is detrimental. I don't care what your condition is and what your situation is. It's rare. That being said, it doesn't mean always. There are cases, and I don't know your case. I don't know what your doctor knows. I don't know your history, detailed history. I don't know what your tests you've done. So I also am going to be very careful because there could be a situation where increasing blood pressure through exercise, exertion, whatever, it could put you in a risk category that you don't want to be in. And we are dealing with the brain here. Okay, so I'm going to implore you, get a second opinion. Mm-hmm. And then when you get the second opinion, make sure you say to the doctor, is it okay that I work out under the guidance of somebody who's got experience working with somebody like myself? Say it like that, because you might get a different answer. Okay, you might get a totally different answer, because oftentimes what Adam's saying is true. Oftentimes they're playing the safe game because they're like looking at you and they're like, well, she's going to go work out on her own. I don't know if she knows exactly what she's doing. She's going to push herself too hard. Like, it's better safe than sorry. But if you're like, hey, I'm going to be under the guidance of somebody who has some experience with this, then they might say yes. For example, I'm pretty sure your doctor would not say no to a physical therapist.
Right.
Which means exercise is okay.
Right.
As long as it's appropriate. Right. So you can either have another conversation with this doctor and position it that way, or get a second opinion, but get that clearance first. So we're not at liberty to tell you what something to do that the doctor says not to do.
Okay, great. That's really helpful. Thank you.
No problem. And you have MAPS Anabolic, right? Do you have MAPS Symmetry?
No, I don't.
I'm going to send that to you, because when and if you get clearance, I like Symmetry for you.
Oh, I do too.
I like Symmetry a lot,
especially the first phase where she's at right now.
Yeah, and it's going to train proprioceptive ability differently, which I think is going to be good for your brain too.
Amazing. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
No problem. Thanks for calling in. Yeah, that's tough, because I think you're right, Adam. We're guessing, but I think that's exactly what it is. The doctor's like, it's better safe than sorry. Because if she's like, hey, I'm working with a physical therapist,
that's usually
doctor's probably like, that's cool.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
they're trying to be cautious.
When you walk around, your you're moving and working muscles. Okay, when you go to the gym and you do exercises, you're moving moving muscle. So there's a spectrum there, right? And
Totally.
and so you can't tell me that the best remedy for whatever someone's case is, and this is, like you said, pretty much everyone. Of course, there's the exception to the rule, which is a 0.5% of the 1%, right?
So we have to be careful, but you're right.
Yeah, so you have to be careful with how we give advice, but there's got to be somewhere on that spectrum where she is okay with. And I bet you're right too that if he were to say like, hey, I was going to see a physical therapist, can I do that? Well, what's the physical therapist do? Exercises with
Yeah,
her.
same thing.
You know what I'm saying?
Just appropriate.
Yeah,
he
just-
knows she's under guidance.
That's right. Specific things like avoiding what you were saying as high risk, probably doing things that are going to complement.
Because here's the other side of it with the limited knowledge that we have. So I want to say that first. But here's the other side of it. Not moving, not exercising is not only not good for the body, it's not good for the brain.
Right.
So what she's trying to do is reduce inflammation, improve glucose utilization of the brain, which is, by the way, why I had her research ketogenic diet, because sometimes that makes a big difference.
Yep.
But you're trying to improve your health. Well, exercise does that. You're trying to improve your brain health. Exercise does that. So you don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater, because what may happen is, in the pursuit of just being completely safe, she accelerates the downhill, or she makes it worse because now she's not moving. So now, I mean, anybody's brain gets less healthy when they don't exercise. So that's why I'm like, look, get another opinion, because I think if you position the question differently, I've done that by the way with clients where they go to the doctor and I say, don't ask like that, ask like this and see what happens. And if you ask it a certain way, then they're okay with it.
Is the saying that metaphor because the water's dirty?
What do you mean?
Why do you throw the baby out of the bed?
Oh,
the
because
water's dirty, so therefore the baby.
Yeah, so you would throw out the bathwater, but
'Cause it's
don't throw
dirty.
the baby out with it.
Right. Okay,
Yeah.
got it.
Yeah, because that sucks.
It's a really old one.
I wonder if anybody's ever done that.
I,
Oh my God.
Ah!